One of the hardest things to do really in any facet of life is staying at the top once you reach the best level that you can get to. Of course, in football, we've seen it happen before where teams go on to repeat their victories, but more often than not, it's hard for guys to retain their titles. For example, a few years ago in the Premier League, we thought Liverpool were bad champions for finishing in third place the season after they won the Premier League. But right now, we're witnessing a seismic drop-off from the LA Galaxy. If anything, this LA Galaxy said, hold my beer because I'm about to show you levels of how bad things can get. So LA Galaxy, who is actually the MLS team with the most League Cup wins in history, is coming off a season where they added a sixth title to their cabinet. And real quick, in case anyone needs a reminder on how MLS works, you have an East and a West conference. The team that finishes the regular season with most points regardless of conference wins the supporter shield, but this is not the MLS Champion. Instead, the top 8 teams from each conference enter a playoff which ends up determining the winner. So with that being said, for the 2024 season, LA Galaxy were finally able to come out as champions after a 10-year drought. It's really hard to compare MLS to any other league because of all the rules that are attached to it and all the kind of intricacies of the league, but the closest comparison that I can think of is imagine Real Madrid going 10 years without winning La Liga. LA Galaxy truly is known for winning and for consistently harboring some of the best talent in MLS. Of course, they had the Beckham era where other guys like Landon Donovan and Robbie Keane amongst others lit up the MLS, but after this era ended, they were lost for a while and fell into a slump of coming up short. They had periods with guys like Giovanni Dos Santos, Alessandrini, Ibrahimovic, and even Chicharito all came in to play alongside the talent at the club, but none of them helped the club return to glory. But in 2024, they had finally collected a group of players that could actually churn out results. Ricky Puig, who had joined the Galaxy in 2022, had finally gone up a couple of gears and as the engine of the team would help drive them to glory. They finished second in the Western Conference only just about on goal difference and were the 4th best team in MLS period. The attacking threat of Gabriel Peck and Dejan Joveljic helped the Galaxy score the 3rd most goals in MLS. And it really helped that they had Marco Reus when available, Diego Fagundes, and Joseph Paintso as supporting pieces. Gabriel Peck literally had the most goal and assists in MLS and even won the Newcomer of the Year award. In fact, the Galaxy had veteran defenders in Maya Yoshida and Martin Cáceres who helped them keep things solid for the most part. The Galaxy would roll through teams early in the playoffs before locking in for tougher semi-final and final matches en route to coming out as the 2024 MLS Champion. They did lose Ricky Puig to an ACL injury in the process, but nonetheless, Galaxy were back on top. But now, the Galaxy has literally crashed into the worst team in MLS at this current moment. No exaggeration, they have straight up gone from champions to just straight up bums. And this is not being talked about enough if we're being honest. So what the helly burden is going on with the LA Galaxy? And real quick boys, if you're new to the channel, enjoying the video, enjoying the content, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. We are dropping weekly football videos, so make sure to hit the notification bell as well so you don't miss an upload. And if you're not new to the channel boys, welcome back. Glad to have you around for another video. And let me know your thoughts on the LA Galaxy season so far down below. Of course, again, a reminder, my Latinos who are out there protesting against ICE, stay safe. I will leave links to resources in the comments down below. With that being said boys, let's get into this atrocious season that the Galaxy are having thus far. Just to show that I'm not being hyperbolic at all about how bad these guys have been this year, the Galaxy are literally last place in the Western Conference with only 8 points and a negative 21 goal difference. Across both conferences, they have the worst record by far. I know I like to exaggerate sometimes for the videos and say, you know, the worst team or the worst season, stuff like that, but LA Galaxy has been just straight up butt cheek. So you have to imagine that for a fall off this drastic to happen, that surely a lot of things at the club had to have changed, right? Well, things did kind of change at the Galaxy, but not as much as you might expect. One massive loss for the Galaxy was Ricky Puig going down with his ACL injury. It meant that he was going to be out for pretty much the entire season. If we're being honest, Puig is levels above the MLS. And this showed last year when he was running the show for the Galaxy so many times last season. The guy was literally in the highest percentiles for almost all key metrics for midfielders in leagues similar to his own. So with Puig out, Galaxy was going to be down one key man. But in what proved to be a very boneheaded move, the Galaxy would sell Peck's partner in crime Joveljic to Kansas City for $4 million. They still have good pieces and players that I mentioned earlier like Fagundes and Marco Reus and Paintso, but Joveljic proved to be a very important player in the overall flow of the attack. Without Joveljic, the Galaxy was missing a key central figure to occupy defenders and create space for other attackers. And I'll touch on it in just a second, but the lack of that central goal scoring figure pretty much just meant that there was a massive drop off in the goal scoring department. Additionally, the loss of Martin Cáceres meant that less experienced defenders were now going to be forced to fit his role, and they have simply just not been good enough. With injuries here and there to guys like Reus, Yoshida, and Paintso, the squad has been an overall mess. You can argue that a team that crumbles after losing just 3 key players was never meant to go on and be some dynasty of a team, and I can agree with you there. But this level of a drop off after losing 3 players is also so crazy to kind of just hear. Imagine City lost 3 key players, let's say De Bruyne, Ruben Dias, and I don't know, Holland, and then they just became literally 20th place and got relegated. You see how crazy that sounds? So with that being said, right, on the pitch, what is happening with this Galaxy team? So it kind of ends up being a short list, but nonetheless a list of just pretty much fundamental things that have been wrong with them the entire season. And also, just to let the audience know, you remember how I showed you guys the league table earlier and you can see how the Galaxy only have 1 win? Well, in MLS they would actually go 16 games without a win, as they only just got their first win against Real Salt Lake 2 weeks ago as of this recording. A truly generational level of ass is being achieved by the LA Galaxy here. So to start off the season, in their first 5 matches they would go on and get 2 draws and 3 losses, with one of the most common themes in these games being that there was just no cohesion in the attack. A lot of times Galaxy's most dangerous moments came from Peck picking up the ball, driving at the defense and letting a pop shot fly to hope for the best. If it wasn't Peck, then it would be Royce doing something similar. In the first match of the season they would fall 2-0 to San Diego FC in their inaugural MLS match, where the lack of goal scoring threat was on full display. In the midfield, the lack of Ricky Pugh to pull the strings and bring attackers into games was also very evident, as once again Peck was pretty much forced to create so much of the offense on his own. At the back it just gets even worse, because in those first 5 games everything was just so sloppy from the Galaxy. Poor timing on defensive actions, and inability to defend counters properly, losing runners in behind, unable to clear the lines, all collectively would just kill them at the back, as they would concede so many silly goals. And like I said, they've gone winless for pretty much the entire season so far, so after these first 5 matches they wouldn't get a win for another 11 games, and there would be so many instances where it would just feel like a clown show on the pitch for them. On match day 12 they had a rematch of the 2024 MLS Cup final, as they would face off against the New York Red Bulls away from home. After 11 games without a win in the league, you have to imagine this would be an opportunity to tap into a collective spirit where a not so distant memory of winning the league would give them the boost to finally win a match. New York haven't been having the best season either, as they were sitting in 10th place in the East and had actually just lost 4-1 to Inter Miami. So maybe, just maybe, this was their chance.
Choupo-Moting goes wide, fires and shot, goal! Let's see flag stays down, here's Forsberg, fire and goal! Play it in, Forsberg, Choupo-Moting up! Forsberg fires, scores! Courtney, here's Yengor, who's just come on! Yengor, this ball floating far post, and it's in! Take it here, Yengor fires! Go on the restart. Still under duress, and this deflects in!
Well, in the ultimate reversal from the MLS Cup final, the Chopped Cheese vanquished Tacos as New York spanked the Galaxy and sent them packing home. Having seemingly hit rock bottom, things would only get worse for the Galaxy in these next couple of weeks. On match day 13, they would take a 2-0 lead away from home against the Philadelphia Union before halftime and were seemingly coasting to a victory. That was until Philly came out like Rocky Balboa in the second half and scored 3 unanswered goals to win the match. Then on match day 14, 15, and 16, the Galaxy would continue their winless streak in 3 straight California derbies against LAFC, San Diego FC, and the San Jose Earthquakes, notably scoring first in 2 of those matches and still not winning. But then finally on match day 17, jubilation for the LA Galaxy. They would face Real Salt Lake, who aside from the Galaxy are another one of the worst teams in the league, and despite giving up a handful of scary chances to their opponent, some good attacking play would see them get a goal in each half. With Salt Lake being able to capitalize on their chances, the Galaxy would get their first win of the season, and to many this was hopefully a moment that could turn their luck around. You could see how much this meant to the players who had struggled so much this season. Of course, there wasn't too much to be happy about at that exact moment, because this was still ultimately a huge fall from grace the entire season, but nonetheless this was a moment that was much needed. And then in their following match against 14th in the West St. Louis City, they would go meet for meet as a brace from Gabriel Peck was made pointless when João Klaus capped off his hat-trick in the 95th minute, preventing the LA Galaxy from getting back-to-back wins. But now that they've tasted victory at least once this season, what is even next for Galaxy? Well, and what is one of my usual grievances for MLS, but something that's actually to the benefit of the Galaxy this season, there's still a small, tiny, minuscule chance that they make the playoffs, which theoretically means they're still in the running to be MLS champions. A lot of things have to start going their way, and most importantly, they need to start actually winning games, but they only have to finish as low as 9th place to creep into the playoffs. With literally half the season left to play, again, technically it's possible, but it's going to be a huge mountain to climb. The way that this LA Galaxy team has been going out there, it is just absolutely shambolic. It did us look like they're playing at a Sunday league level, at least at the back. They're just conceding so many dumb goals. They need to just lock in. I don't know what's going on back there. But with Fagundes returning from injury this month and Ricky Pugh coming back around August, there's just that little bit of glimmer for hope for the Galaxy. Again, this is one of my biggest grievances with MLS. There is no reason that a team that has been this terrible, literally doo-doo but garbage, has still mathematically a chance to make it into playoffs, which technically means they can become champions. It makes no sense to me, but of course MLS is going to operate the way it is. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the Galaxy from here.